The shuttle doors opened, and Yuna stepped onto Earth for the first time. The air hit her face like a wet cloth. It was thick and warm and smelled of metal and strange food. She wrinkled her nose and pulled her travel cloak tighter around her shoulders. Seoul Interstellar Port was loud. Too loud. Humans moved in every direction, talking and laughing and shouting into small devices. Their skin came in different shades of brown and pink. Their hair was black and brown, and sometimes bright colors that hurt her eyes. They were short and tall and everything in between. They were chaos given form. Yuna hated them already. She was Valari. Her people had traveled between stars when humans were still living in caves. Her skin was pale blue, smooth as still water. Her eyes were silver and could see in complete darkness. She stood taller than most humans, and her movements were graceful in ways they could never match. She was better than them. Her people had always told her so, but here she was. On Earth, the armpit of the galaxy, it was punishment, though her government called it a cultural exchange. 3 months ago, she had spoken against the hegemony's new war policies in a public meeting. She had called the military expansion wasteful and cruel. The next day, she received her new assignment, Earth. The message was clear. Speak again, and you will never come home, So she had traveled across the galaxy to this primitive world, where the creatures lived fast and died young, and somehow thought they deserved a seat on the Galactic Council. She checked her identification chip. It glowed softly under the skin of her wrist, syncing with the port's systems. Everything was in order. She just needed to find her transport to the embassy. But when she tried to access the port's network, nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. Her Valari technology was not compatible with Earth systems. Of course, these people probably still used wires and buttons. She looked around for help. The port was emptying now. Night was coming. The information desks were closing. She approached one, just as the human behind it began shutting down her computer. "Excuse me," Yuna said. Her English was perfect but cold. "I need transport to the Valari embassy." The woman looked tired. "Sorry, last shuttle left an hour ago. Next one is tomorrow morning. There's a hotel connected to the port, 3rd floor. I am a diplomatic envoy. Surely there are other options." The woman shrugged. "Not at this hour. Welcome to Earth." Yuna's jaw tightened. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell this creature exactly what she thought of her pathetic plan and its pathetic systems and its pathetic time schedules. But she said nothing. She simply turned and walked away. The hotel was full. Of course it was. Some kind of sports event had brought thousands of humans to the city. Yuna stood in the port's main hall, surrounded by her luggage, and felt something she had not felt in a long time. She felt helpless. She found a bench in a corner and sat down. Her luggage formed a small wall around her. She would not sleep. She would simply wait until morning. She was Valari. She could handle discomfort. An hour passed. Then 2. The port grew quiet. Cleaning machines hummed across the floors. A few humans slept on benches like hers, wrapped in jackets and bags. Yuna watched them with disgust. Was this really how they lived? Like animals camping wherever they fell. "Hey," she looked up. A human male stood nearby. He wore the uniform of a cargo handler. Simple gray clothes, heavy boots, a name tag that said Doyen. He was young, maybe 25 in human years. His black hair was messy, and there was grease on his hands. He looked tired, but his eyes were kind. "You've been sitting here for hours," he said. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" "I am fine," Yuna said. Her voice was ice. "I do not need help from humans." Do-hyun blinked. Then he nodded slowly. "Okay, sorry to bother you." He started to walk away. Then he stopped. He reached into his bag and pulled out a bottle of water and a small blanket. He set them on the bench beside her. "It gets cold here at night," he said, "and the water fountains are turned off until morning. Just in case." Yuna stared at the items like they were alien artifacts. "I told you, I do not need your help." "I know," Do-hyun said, "but you might want it later. Have a good night." He walked away before she could say anything else. She watched him go until he disappeared through a staff door. She did not touch the water or the blanket. For an hour, she sat rigid, refusing to acknowledge them. This was beneath her. She was Valari. She did not need kindness from PRI man to IV East Dot, but the air grew cold. The port's heating systems lowered for the night cycle. Yuna began to shiver. Her travel cloak was designed for Valari temperatures, not Earth's strange climate. Finally, when she was certain no one was watching, she pulled the blanket over her legs. It was soft and warm and smelled faintly of soap. She hated how good it felt. She drank the water just before dawn. It was clean and cold and perfect. When Do-hyun passed by on his morning shift, she was gone. The blanket was folded neatly on the bench. The empty water bottle sat on top. He smiled a little as he picked them up. The rude alien with the silver eyes. He hoped she found where she was going. 2 weeks passed. Yuna settled into her work at the Valari embassy. It was boring work. She attended meetings where humans talked too much and said too little. She wrote reports that no one back home would read. She ate bland food and slept in a small room and counted the days until she could leave. She thought about the human at the port. Sometimes, Do-hyun. She did not know why she remembered his name. He was nobody. Just another primitive who did not understand boundaries. But she remembered the blanket. She remembered the water. She remembered how he had walked away without anger when she insulted him. Humans were strange creatures. One evening, everything changed. Yuna was walking through a crowded market when someone bumped into her hard. She stumbled. When she regained her balance, her bag was gone. She checked her wrist. Her identification chip was dark. Someone had used a scrambler on it. She had been robbed. Without her chip, she had nothing. No money, no way to contact the embassy, no proof of who she was. She ran after the thief, but the crowd swallowed them whole. The embassy could not help quickly. Valari bureaucracy moved like cold honey. They said it would take months to verify her identity and issue new credentials. Months. She would have to survive on Earth for months with nothing. She had no friends here. She had pushed everyone away. She had been rude to every human who tried to help her. Now she was alone. Desperation makes people do foolish things. Yuna heard about the underground markets from another alien at the embassy. If you needed something done fast and quietly, you went underground. Fake credentials. Quick cash. No questions asked. She found the entrance in an old subway station. She walked down stairs that smelled of rust and smoke. The underground was a maze of narrow halls and small shops. Humans and aliens moved through the shadows. No one looked at each other directly. Everyone was there for secrets. She found a shop that claimed to make identification chips. The owner was a thin man with sharp eyes. His name was Taiwan. Valari, huh? He looked her up and down. Don't see many of your kind down here. You must be in real trouble. I just need credentials, Yuna said. Temporary ones. Until my embassy sorts out the paperwork. Taiwan smiled. It was not a nice smile. Sure. But this kind of work takes time. You look tired. Sit down. Have a drink while I check my supplies. He handed her a glass of something purple. Yuna hesitated. But she was tired. She was scared. She wanted this nightmare to end. She drank. The world became fuzzy almost instantly. Her legs went weak. She tried to stand but fell against the wall. Taiwan was talking to someone on a communicator. Yeah, I got a live one. Valari female, good condition. Her organs will sell for enough to retire on. Send the team. Yuna tried to scream, but her voice would not work. The drug was shutting down her body. She could only watch as two large men entered the shop and grabbed her arms. They dragged her through the tunnels. Her feet scraped against the floor. She could hear them laughing about how much money they would make. Valari hearts were worth a fortune. Valari eyes even more dot. She was going to die here. In this dark place. Far from home. And no one would ever know. Then she heard a familiar voice. Hey! Let her go. Through her blurred vision she saw him. Do-yun, the cargo handler from the port. He was carrying boxes for some delivery job. He had seen them dragging her. The men laughed. Walk away, kid. This doesn't concern you. Do-yun did not walk away. He dropped his boxes and ran at them. He was not a fighter. That was clear from his first punch, which barely connected. But he kept coming. He kicked. He bit. He threw himself at men twice his size with nothing but desperate courage. One of them pulled out a plasma pistol. Yuna tried to warn him, but only a whisper came out. The pistol fired. Do-hyun spun and fell. There was a burned hole in his shoulder. He did not get up, but he had done something before he fell. His hand had found an emergency beacon on the wall. Red lights began flashing. Alarms screamed through the tunnels. The men cursed and ran. They left Yuna on the ground, next to the human who had tried to save her. Security forces arrived minutes later. They found her crying beside Do-hyun's unconscious body. She could not explain why she was crying. She barely knew him. He was just a primitive. Just a cargo handler. But he had fought for her. He had bled for her. A stranger who owed her nothing. A man she had insulted to his face. They took them both to the hospital. Yuna recovered in hours. The drug left her system quickly. Do-hyun did not wake up. The plasma burn had damaged nerves and muscles. The doctors worked through the night. They said he might not survive. Yuna sat in the waiting room and stared at her hands. She had called him primitive. She had told him she did not need his help. He had saved her life anyway. She did not understand humans. She did not understand this one at all, but she was not going to leave until he woke up. The hospital was white and quiet. Machines beeped in soft rhythms. Nurses walked through halls in soft shoes. Everything smelled clean and strange. Yuna sat in a plastic chair outside Do-hyun's room. She had been there for 6 hours. Her legs were stiff. Her back hurt. She did not move. A young woman came running down the hall. She had the same black hair as Do-hyun, the same kind eyes. She stopped when she saw Yuna. Are you the one? She asked, breathing hard. The alien he saved? Yuna nodded slowly. Yes, I am Yuna. I'm June, his sister. She looked at the door to his room. Her eyes were red from crying. They called me at school. They said he might not make it through the night. I am sorry, Yuna said. The words felt small and useless. Geun sat down next to her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Yuna expected anger. She expected blame. She was the reason Do-hyun was lying in that bed with a hole in his shoulder. Instead, June said, he talked about you. What? The rude alien at the port. That's what he called you. A tiny smile crossed her face. He said you seemed scared underneath all that anger. He said he hoped you were okay. Yuna felt something twist in her chest. I was terrible to him. Yeah, he mentioned that too. June shrugged. That's just how he is. He sees hurt people and wants to help them. Even when they push him away. Especially when they push him away. A doctor came out of the room. She looked tired but hopeful. He's stable. Still unconscious. but his vitals are improving. He's a fighter, your brother. June started crying again. Happy tears this time. She hugged the doctor, then turned and hugged Yuna before Yuna could react. The touch was strange and warm, and Yuna did not know what to do with her arms. Days passed. Do-hyun remained unconscious. His body was healing, but slowly. Yuna came back every day. She told herself it was because she owed him a debt. In Valari culture, if someone saved your life, you owed them something equal. She would wait until he woke up. She would pay her debt. Then she would leave. But the hours in that hospital changed something in her. She watched. June refused to leave her brother's side. She watched neighbors bring food and sit with the family. She watched co-workers from the port stop by after their shifts just to say hello to a sleeping man who could not hear them. An old woman came one day. She said Do-hyun had helped her carry groceries every week. A child came with her mother. Do-hyun had taught her to ride a bicycle. A man came in a business suit. Do-hyun had talked him out of something bad on a dark night 3 years ago. The man never said what it was. He just sat by the bed and held Do-hyun's hand and cried. All these people. All these connections. For a cargo handler who made little money and had no power and would never be important by Valari standards, Yuna did not understand. Why do they come? She asked June one evening. What do they owe him? June looked at her strangely. They don't owe him anything. They come because they love him. Because he was kind to them. Is that not how it works for your people? Yuna thought about it. Really thought. Among the Valari, relationships were transactions. You helped others so they would help you later. You maintained connections for political advantage. Everything was calculated. Everything had a price. Humans were different. They helped strangers for no reason. They formed bonds that had no benefit. They loved without expecting anything in return. It was inefficient. It was irrational. It was beautiful. On the 7th day, Do-hyun opened his eyes. Yuna was alone in the room. June had gone to get coffee. The machines beeped steadily. Then, slowly, Do-hyun's fingers moved. His eyes fluttered. He looked around the room with confusion until his gaze found her. Hey, he said. His voice was rough and weak. The rude alien. Yuna almost laughed. Almost. Yes, the rude alien. Did they hurt you? Those men? She stared at him. He was lying in a hospital bed with a burned shoulder and damaged nerves, and the first thing he asked was if she was okay. No, she said. You saved me. You almost died saving me. Good. He closed his eyes and smiled. That's good. Why? The word came out before she could stop it. Why did you do it? I was horrible to you. I called you primitive. I said I did not need your help. Do-hyun opened his eyes again. He looked at her for a long moment. You look scared, he said simply. Back at the port. Under all that anger, you just looked scared and alone. I know what that feels like. I couldn't walk away, but I was cruel to you. So? People are cruel when they're hurting. Doesn't mean they deserve to be left behind. Yuna felt tears on her face. She did not know when she had started crying. Valari were not supposed to cry. It was a sign of weakness. But she could not stop. June came back with coffee. She screamed with joy when she saw her brother awake. She hugged him so hard, he groaned in pain. Then she hugged Yuna again. This time, Yuna hugged her back. She stayed until visiting hours ended. When she left, Do-hyun called after her. Hey, Yuna? She turned. Will you come back tomorrow? She smiled. It felt strange on her face. She had not smiled in a long time. Yes, she said. I will come back tomorrow. 3 months changed everything. Yuna learned Korean. She learned to cook ramen, though she burned it the first 5 times. She learned to laugh at jokes she did not understand and to hug people without feeling strange. She learned that humans celebrated birthdays with fire on cakes and that this was somehow not dangerous. She spent her free hours at a refugee center in the old part of Seoul. Aliens and humans worked together there, helping newcomers find homes and jobs and hope. She translated documents. She explained customs. She held the hands of frightened children who had traveled across the galaxy and did not know where they were. Do-hyun recovered slowly. His shoulder would never be the same, but he could use his arm again. He could not lift heavy cargo anymore, so he took a job at the refugee center too. They worked side by side, the cargo handler and the diplomat, helping people who had nothing. June visited on weekends. She was studying to be a doctor. She said Yuna was now her unofficial second sister. Yuna did not know what to say to that. She had never had a sister before. She had never had friends before either. Not real ones. But happiness never lasts forever. One morning, Yuna received a summons to the Valari embassy. Ambassador Nira wanted to see her immediately. Nira was old and cold and powerful. She had silver hair pulled back tight and eyes that looked through people instead of at them. She had been a diplomat for 200 years. She believed in the hegemony's power above all else. "Sit," Nira said. Her office was large and empty and smelled of nothing at all. Yuna sat. "Your reports have become concerning," Nira said. "Sympathetic to humans. Critical of hegemony policies. You have been seen fraternizing with locals, eating their food, learning their language, making friends. I was assigned to learn about their culture," Yuna said carefully. "That is what I am doing. You were assigned to observe from a distance, not to become one of them." Nira leaned forward. "But that is not why I called you here. We have a bigger problem." She pressed a button. Images appeared on the wall. The underground market, Taiwan, the trafficking operation. "Security forces have been investigating the ring that attacked you," Nira said. "They found something interesting. The operation was funded by Valari credits, protected by Valari officials. Our own people are selling alien organs on the black market." Yuna felt cold. "Who? That does not concern you. What concerns you is that Earth security wants your testimony. You are the only victim who can identify the local operation. Your words could expose our people's involvement." "Then I should testify," Yuna said. "What they did was wrong." Nira's eyes went hard. "If you testify, you will embarrass the hegemony. You will create a scandal that weakens our position on the Galactic Council. You will be declared a traitor. I will be telling the truth. Truth is not always useful." Nira stood and walked to the window. "I know about your family, Yuna, your parents, your younger siblings. If you testify, they will suffer. The hegemony has ways of punishing those who betray us." Yuna felt sick. Her family, her mother who sang her to sleep as a child, her father who taught her the names of stars, her little siblings who sent her messages every week asking when she would come home. "You have 3 days to decide," Nira said. "Choose wisely." Yuna walked out of the embassy in a daze. She walked through the city without seeing it. She walked until she found herself on the roof of the refugee center, sitting on cold concrete, watching the sun go down. That was where Do-hyun found her. He did not say anything at first. He just sat down next to her and waited. He had learned that about her. Sometimes she needed silence before words. Finally, she told him everything. The trafficking ring, the Valari involvement, the threat to her family, the impossible choice. Do-hyun listened. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I want to do the right thing, but I am scared. If I speak, my family suffers. If I stay silent, the people who hurt me go free. They will hurt others. They already are hurting others. That's not a choice, Dahin said. That's two kinds of pain. Yes, he looked at the sky. Stars were appearing one by one. I can't tell you what to do, he said. This isn't my life. It isn't my family. But I can tell you what I know. He turned to face her. Fear is real. It's heavy and cold and it makes you want to hide. But courage isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing the right thing anyway. How do you know what the right thing is? You already know. You just don't want to admit it because it hurts. Yuna closed her eyes. He was right. She knew what she had to do. She had known since Nira showed her those images. She just needed someone to help her be brave enough to do it. Whatever you choose, Dohyun said, you won't be alone. June and I, we're not going anywhere. You're family now. That's what family does. Yuna opened her eyes. The stars were bright above them. Somewhere out there, her home world turned slowly through the void. Her old life. Her old self. She did not want to be that person anymore. I'm going to testify, she said. Dohyun nodded. I know. I'm scared. I know that too. He took her hand. His grip was warm and steady. But you're the bravest person I've ever met. You just haven't figured that out yet. They sat together until the stars filled the sky. Tomorrow everything would change. Tonight she was not alone. The tribunal chamber was vast and cold. Seats rose in circles around a central platform where Yuna stood alone. Representatives from 12 species watched her. Cameras floated in the air, broadcasting her testimony across the galaxy. The Valari delegation sat in the front row, their faces like stone. Yuna's heart beat so hard she could hear it in her ears. Captain Hyungwoo stood nearby. He was the Earth security officer who had spent months building this case. He gave her a small nod of encouragement. State. Your name for the record, the tribunal chair said. Yuna, formerly of the Valari Diplomatic Corps. You have come to give testimony regarding illegal trafficking operations. Please proceed. Yuna took a deep breath. She thought of Do-yoon in the hospital bed. She thought of June hugging her. She thought of all the victims she had met at the refugee center, aliens and humans alike, people who had been used and discarded by those with power. She began to speak. She told them everything. The attack in the underground market, the words the traffickers had used, the Valari credits that funded the operation. She named the officials who protected the ring, including 2 members of her own embassy. She presented data files that Captain Hyun-woo's team had recovered. She answered every question with clear words and steady eyes. The Valari delegation grew more furious with each revelation. Ambassador Nira stared at Yuna with pure hatred. But Yuna did not look away. She did not apologize. She did not stop. When she finished, the chamber was silent. Then the human representative from Earth began to clap. Others joined. The sound grew until it echoed off the walls. Not everyone clapped. The Valari did not clap. But enough did that Yuna knew she had been heard. The tribunal acted quickly. Ambassador Nira was arrested before she could leave the building. The other corrupt officials were detained within hours. The trafficking network collapsed as Earth. Security and allied forces moved against it across 3 planets. Hundreds of victims were freed. Humans, Valari, and a dozen other species, all waiting to be sold for parts. They walked out of dark warehouses and hidden ships into the light. Many of them were children, but freedom has a price. The Valari hegemony declared Yuna a traitor. Her citizenship was revoked. Her family was ordered to publicly disown her. She received a single message from her mother, sent through secret channels. I understand. I would have done the same. Live well, my daughter. I am proud of you. Yuna read the message 100 times. She cried each time. Then she deleted it so no one could trace it back to her family. Earth granted her asylum. The paperwork was completed in one day, a new record. Captain Hyunwoo personally delivered the documents to her apartment. "Welcome to Earth," he said. Officially this time. June organized a celebration. She invited everyone they knew. The apartment was too small for all the people who came. Co-workers from the refugee center. Families Yuna had helped. Neighbors who brought food. Even some of the victims she had helped free came. The ones who were well enough to travel. Do-hyun stood in the corner, watching her with a smile. She walked over to him. "This is too much," she said. "I don't deserve all this." "Maybe," he said, "but you're getting it anyway. That's how we do things here." She laughed. It was a real laugh, loud and free. A year ago, she did not know how to laugh like that. Life continued. Yuna took a permanent job at the refugee center. She became the official liaison for alien newcomers. She used her knowledge of Valari culture and galactic politics to help people navigate systems that were confusing and cold. She remembered how lost she had felt when she first arrived. She made sure no one else had to feel that way. Do-hyun worked beside her. His shoulder ached on cold days, but he never complained. They were partners now, in work and in life. Not romantic partners. Something different. Something deeper. Two people who had found each other when they both needed saving. June finished medical school. She opened a clinic near the refugee center that served anyone who needed help, regardless of species or money. She said Yuna was the reason she chose to work with alien patients. Yuna said June gave her too much credit. 1 year after her testimony, Yuna returned to Seoul Interstellar Port. The air was still thick and strange. The crowds were still loud and chaotic. But it felt different now. It felt like home. A shuttle arrived from the outer colonies. The doors opened. A young alien woman stepped out. She was tall, with green skin and 4 arms. She looked around the port with disgust on her face. She wrinkled her nose at the smells. She flinched at the noise. Yuna smiled. She knew that expression. She had worn it herself not so long ago. She walked over to the young woman. "First time on Earth?" she asked. The woman looked at her suspiciously. "Yes, it's terrible." "How do you stand it?" "It grows on you." Yuna glanced at the woman's heavy luggage. "Here, let me help you with that." "I don't need help from anyone." Yuna just smiled wider. "I know, but you might want it later." She picked up one of the bags anyway. The woman stared at her in confusion. Then, slowly, her expression softened. "Why are you being kind to me? You don't know me." Yuna thought about Do-hyun, about a bottle of water and a blanket left for a stranger who had insulted him, about a man who ran toward danger instead of away because someone looked scared, about the simple, irrational, beautiful human choice to help others just because they needed it. "Someone was kind to me once," she said, "when I didn't deserve it, when I was scared and angry and alone. He showed me what humans are really like. Now I try to do the same for others." She began walking toward the exit. After a moment, the young woman followed. "What's your name?" Yuna asked. "Vera." "Welcome to Earth." "Vera, I think you're going to like it here." Behind them, through the port windows, the sun was rising over Seoul. Light poured across the city, touching buildings and streets and people. Humans went about their day, living their short, bright, beautiful lives. Yuna had loathed this world once. She had called it primitive and backward and beneath. Now she knew the truth. Earth was not a great civilization because of its technology or its power or its place in the galaxy. Earth was great because of its people. Because they chose kindness when they could choose cruelty. Because they helped strangers, even when it cost them everything. Because one cargo Handler at a spaceport had changed the entire universe for one lost, angry alien, and now she would do the same for others. That was the human way. That was her way now, too.